Dave Molenda learned firsthand the power of pivoting in business. When his building material company faced a sharp drop in revenue after the 2008 financial crisis, they shifted to focus offering on training and coaching for customers, which helped them not only survive, but to thrive. Once Dave got experience coaching, he knew that's what he wanted to do, and he went into it full time. He's since built a successful sales coaching business. He's a keynote speaker, a #1 Amazon best-selling author, and he hosts a top 2.5% podcast. Some of his key principles are how delegation is the key to growth, to always be thinking about your customer, and how to build a diverse team using the DISC personality system. Here's my interview with Dave Molenda. Enjoy. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Beyond Fulfillment podcast. I'm your host, Dave Goulas. This week, my guest is the founder of Positive Polarity, Dave Molenda. Welcome, Dave.
Hello, sir. How are you today?
Doing great. Doing great. I appreciate you taking the time. Thank you.
For sure.
So if you could for everyone, Positive Polarity. So that's your coaching and your speaking business. Can you tell us what that is and how it got started?
Yeah, for sure. So you rewind the tape to 2012, and I had just got done selling the last company that I started. And I can remember like it was yesterday. It was a Tuesday afternoon. It was like 2 o'clock, all the paperwork signed, Dave. And then the guy buying it's like, so what are you gonna do? And I'm like, it's a really good question. So I the next day I started thinking about the people that I had been serving in the past, and I'm like, they might need somebody to help them with X. Maybe it's some sales help, maybe it's some business growth, different things like that. So I just opened and started Positive Polarity, a business coaching firm. And it started because I just had such a strong passion to come alongside and help people. I don't know about you, Dave, but I run into a lot of people that are really good at what they do. They might struggle with how to build a team. They might struggle with how to improve their customers' experience. So those are two big time investments that I spend with people, are on their team and on how to build that customer experience. So it's that's how it started.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And oftentimes too, right, when you talk about building a team, high performers and ambitious people, one of the biggest challenges they have is truly delegating and handing off important work to other team members. So, like, how do you help with that specifically?
Yeah, I mean, I some people don't want to delegate, and so I say, well, you don't have to delegate, just realize one of two things are going to happen. You're going to limit your growth, or you're going to live this 24/7. And so if you're looking to grow your business and you don't want it to all fall on you, then you're going to have to, learn how to give those things up. And a lot of times, people give up the small things, like maybe give up your accounting, or give up invoicing, small little starts to be able to give things up that you don't like to do to begin with. And then as you grow, I mean, it's funny because a lot of business owners, they don't care to get their legal degree, so they, delegate their legal things to a lawyer. They have no problem with that. Their taxes, the CPA takes care of. So they're already delegating. They just may not know that they're doing it. And so I'm like, hey, you're already doing it. Why not just slowly expand, that delegation to maybe a virtual assistant, maybe a part-time person, maybe a family member, maybe you're at a spot where you can hire a full-time person. But usually when people see the results, then they're like, man, I wish I would have did that years ago. And then they never look back.
Okay. And reading on your site too, with how you got into training, you had a very interesting pivot in 2008 with regards to apparently you had a building company at the time and
Yeah, so
permits slowed
yeah,
down.
yeah, we sold building products, and in 2008, when the economy went down, our building permits in our area went down about 90%. And at that time, we had 17 people on our team, and we were just cruising along because construction industry was so strong, and it just stopped overnight. And so the thought was I could close it, or we could find ways to improve, where we were. So from 2008 to 2012, we actually, in that time where most businesses contracted, we grew 47%. We added 5 members on our team. And then on the back end, again, we came out in 2012 stronger than ever because we were investing in our company from a customer perspective. How can we build a better experience for the customer? And that's where I got the passion to just always be working your business from the customer's angle, always be looking at it from their angle and see what they see. And then it usually gives you some real good blind spots to be able to work on that. So yeah, we were able to grow significantly during a downturn, and we just took those principles. I've taken those principles and built other companies, worked for other companies around the country, and it's been great.
So with that time frame specifically, I mean, that was,
Yeah.
very scary, economic time for so many
Yep.
people. When your business, like building permits fall off 90% overnight because of what happened with the economy, like what was
Yep.
that like specifically? And how did you come up with the idea to just pivot and start this training business to,
Sure.
basically, if your customers stayed in business, you could stay in business was the motto, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So 2008 comes along, and all of a sudden, like I said, a lot of companies weren't prepared for it, because they just were used to just coming along. Construction was going well. So as soon as that stopped, everyone looked around and was like, so what do we do next? And we were a supplier of products. And so what I thought was, like you just said, Dave, if I keep my customer in business, they're going to keep me in business. So we started to offer regular trainings for people, and it wasn't like our product training, it was everything but. We were doing QuickBooks training, we were doing LinkedIn training, we were doing memory training, marketing training, anything that we could help them with business tools to stay in business is what we did. Because like I said, a lot of people, when businesses are humming along, we don't worry about the details. We don't know all the things that we need to do. We're just excited that life is good, and we kind of get sloppy in our business. And when that change happens, all of a sudden we stop with that and we start looking at, oh my gosh, I'm burning money here, or I'm spending money here that I don't need to be. And the cool part, what really happened was there was a lot of connecting that happened. So if you can envision a room full of people, and let's say there was an architect in the room and there was a contractor in the room, all of a sudden the contractor's like, hey, I have a client that needs an architect. Or the architect would say, hey, I have a client that needs a builder. So we started to see these connections being made, and it lasted, and it started to grow, and it lasted pretty much the full 3 years from '08 to '11, when there was really a bad market. And like I said, we grew 47% in there, to where when I sold, we were just under 10 million in annual sales. And so a lot of it was the right place at the right time, but it was also, again, thinking about your customer. What do they need from you the most? We tend to stop thinking about what they need after they're done with our product or service. And if you expand that thought process and really jump in their shoes, you see a whole new world that really took off. And that's where I started Positive Polarity, from that basis right there.
Did you always have that, that coaching and that, that desire to teach and just help others, throughout in your business career?
Yeah, I to help others, yes. The coaching piece, you can't coach somebody that doesn't want it. So, you have to find somebody that is genuinely interested in it. And a lot of people say they are interested in it. And I'm sure people listening on this right now, that if you're into personal development, you run into people that are like, yeah, I definitely want to do it. And, my New Year's resolution is I'm going to show up at the gym every day. And usually by January 15th or so, that thing is pretty much done. So you got to find people that are really committed to their company. But and once you find that, then they just latch onto it. And I get questioned a lot of times about coaching, and they're like, I don't know if I need a coach or not. And I'm not here to say you do or you don't. All I know are the best, highest performing athletes in the world have coaches. I mean, how many coaches does a golfer like Tiger Woods have? A strength coach, a nutrition coach, a swing coach, a mental coach, at least 4 or 5 different people looking at his performance. And so I think if you want to be a top performer in your industry, at least have one coach, at least have one outside influence, I'll even call it, that can look at your business from a outside perspective and give you a realistic look at where some of your blind spots are. Because I look at Tiger's swing, Dave, I couldn't tell you what's wrong with it. But there's a guy or girl somewhere in the world that can look at his swing and know that there's something off. And Tiger might not even know it. He may feel it, but he doesn't know how to fix it. So I think coaches are very valuable. They don't need to be lifelong coaches, but again, sometimes we as business owners need small course corrections in our customer experience or in our team. And that's generally, I think, good places for outside influence to come along.
Okay. And so with Positive Polarity, when you started that in 2012, I mean, what was that like in terms of launching your own brand of coaching and getting out there beyond just the contacts from the building company?
Yeah, it was fun to do. It was I was like, where am I going to get this business? And people just, once they heard that I had sold my business, they asked me, hey, I saw what you did. Can you help me do that to my business? And then I started to do some speaking, and then I started to travel to speak, and now I speak around the country. And I get people that come up to me and go, how in the world did you do that? Or this is what I'm struggling with, or you're speaking right to what we're challenged with right now. So that's been the fun, is to watch that grow. And it's not really me as much as I love watching my clients grow. And, when I get emails that says, hey, I wouldn't be where I am if it wasn't for you, or this part of our business is because of you, you challenged us, you encouraged us. I think those, to me, there's nothing better from a business perspective than to get that kind of accolades.
Freight shippers, are you looking for a better experience shipping less than truckload? Are you tired of unpleasant surprises, reclass, reweighs, and the invoice always being higher than the quote? Well, experience the difference with SPI Logistics. I joined SPI as a freight agent to offer a better experience to our 3PL customers, and I'm now offering that same experience to freight shippers nationwide. You get the same personal service you've come to expect when you deal with me, and I've got a whole team of experts that help with all aspects of the transaction from start to finish. Click the link below, or you can email me directly. Thank you.
And so with the coaching, is it primarily like one-on-one coaching sessions as far as what you do
It
there?
can be both. Yeah, it can be both. It's whatever individuals need. I have solopreneurs that I work with, and then I have large corporations that I work with. It just depends on what the need is. And like I said, most companies need help with their team. The sad part is that Gallup's research shows that only 1 out of 3 of our team show up every day engaged in their job, which means 2 out of 3 people, they're not engaged. So if you have a team of 30 people, the research shows that like 20 of them are not engaged. So my goal is to teach some of those 20 how to be engaged, see the advantages that engagement brings, and then watch the satisfaction that each individual gets because they become more engaged. They get excited about it from themselves. So I think there's like nothing worse than hating your job, hating the people that you are with, and hate might be a strong word, but plenty of people that I've run into are like, I hate my job. I'm like, well, why are you there? Well, what else am I supposed to do? It's work. Doesn't everybody hate their job? I'm like, no, not everybody hates their job. And that's kind of a revelation, Dave, for some people because they just figure, well, it's work, so I must have to hate it. And I'm like, man, I don't know how you exist if you hate what you're doing every single day. So yeah, I just love coming alongside people and helping them with those blind spots.
Yeah, and I'm sure we've all seen that where people they're just not in the right position, they're not fulfilled, and they don't enjoy the work, and that's
Yeah.
never a good thing.
Why would
Um,
you want to be there? I mean, why be there, right? I mean, especially in this economy that we're in, where there's, you know, historically low unemployment. There's a lot of new companies that are starting on a regular basis. I mean, I know there's the security and safety of a job that you've been at for a while. So I know that there's that. And I know a lot of people have mortgages to pay and they got rent, they got whatever. So I'm not saying to just quit your job and start a new one. I just think if you don't like your job, then try to find ways to like it. And if you can't, like you said, maybe it's time to find a new bus. There's a lot of businesses out there that might want what you have, with the right attitude.
and you mentioned with team building and having the team engaged is so important. One of the other areas where you focus and you have a certification is with the DISC program, which
Correct.
is the different personalities, and
Yep.
such a long-standing framework too. Can you just talk about how important that is in terms of understanding people's personality types and how they're wired in
Sure.
dealing with others in business?
Yeah, absolutely. So I remember, Dave, early in my career, as I was growing my business before I understood DISC, I thought to myself, I'm like, man, if I could just find more people like me, and for whatever reason, I liked what, my style was. Obviously, we all hopefully like ourselves. And then I kind of played it through and I thought, okay, let's just kind of finish that out for a second. Let's just say that we have 10 people on our team and they're all like Dave. Well, Dave is great at brainstorming. He's great at coming up with ideas. He's great at helping others achieve their goals. But if you had 10 people in a brainstorming session, like if I did that for a day, if I had 10 Daves, I'd have a room full of post-it notes. I'd have all these ideas. I'd have all these great thoughts, right? And now, so at the end of the day, we're all looking at each other, all 10 Daves are looking at each other, and we're like, that was so good. Oh my gosh, I'm so tired, right? This was great. Thank you, guys. And we're looking at each other going, okay, so what's the next step here now? And we're all looking at each other going, well, I don't know. I did my job. And I'm like, okay, who's going to implement this stuff? Well, that's the thing is my challenge personally and professionally, I struggle implementing things. I can come up with a ton of ideas, but to actually implement is really hard for me. Now, conversely, there's a ton of personalities that struggle coming up with ideas, but if you give them an idea, if you give them a course, they're going to crush it and do a great job. So what I learned in DISC is it's best to have a well-rounded, diverse team of different personalities because each one has a strength that the other one doesn't. However, also then comes in where you have different people on your team, you communicate different, you're motivated by different things. So you have this potential you know disruption, this tension. So that's what's powerful about DISC is we get to learn about ourselves, we get to learn about other people, and then the secret sauce is I get to find ways to acclimate my way to the rest of the team so that we can really create some power there. And so it's great to use something like DISC. We use DISC. I'm certified in it and love to build teams with it. We hire with it. so that we can hire the right person. It's just a really strong tool. And like you alluded to, Dave, it's been around since the disc itself has been around since the 20s, but the fact or the thought that there's 4 different personality types, that goes all the way back to 440 BC, where people thought you came from wind or fire or water or earth. It's the same kind of thought process. So just the takeaway for the entrepreneur is just realize that diversity and personality can be a stressor. It can also be a huge strength.
Okay. So now also you wrote a book which is called Growing on Purpose, and it was an Amazon bestseller.
It was correct.
Tell us about the book.
Yeah, so the book kind of focuses on the same thing. I came up with a formula in my last company, and it was ST plus ICE equals P. Super easy, strengthening your team, like we talked about. When you add improving the customer's experience, the ICE, that equals P for profit. So when you have a strong team delivering a strong experience, profit it's guaranteed, it's automatic. And research shows that that's automatic. If you have a weak team, then a weak customer experience, your profits are going to be weak. So we talked about growing on purpose. I wrote the book in thinking that, again, look at the 2 major parts of your company, your team and your customer, and how can you strengthen that team and how can you improve that experience for the customer, because profit will automatically follow if that's done.
All right. And with the book, how instrumental has that been with you helping to grow the business?
Yeah, it's been awesome. I mean, people love it. We were just at an event last week and for a large company, and somebody comes up to me after we were talking about employee engagement. Somebody comes up and says, I want to buy a copy of a book for each one on my team. And so now they're using this as a tool to go and work on together. I'm less concerned about what you use. I'm more concerned that you, as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, as a manager or leader, that you find some tool to be able to share with your team and allow them to see the importance of being a strong team. Because again, most people, Dave, they just want to get their job done. They just want to get done, fly under the radar, and get out of there. Well, that's the true definition of a disengaged employee. They say, hey, it's not my job. If you've ever said it, or if you've ever heard somebody say, that's not my job, that generally shows a disengaged employee. And so we just want to try to combat that, because if we continue with only one, I think of it like it's only one of 3 cylinders working in a car. You're just not getting the speed, you're not getting the performance, you're not getting the production that a car with all 3 cylinders firing at once. When that happens, it's crazy how much you can actually get accomplished in a day.
Yeah, and I'm sure most entrepreneurs would cringe when one of their team members would say that, right? Because that's not the type of people you want on your team. But like you said, inevitably, there's that's an attitude out there.
Absolutely.
Okay, and then you also launched the Positive Polarity podcast.
Yes, we did. So in it was let's see, May of 2020, when we were right in the midst of shutdown for everything. I'm a high I personality. I love to communicate with people, connect with people. And when that got taken away, because I would enjoy lunches with people, I would enjoy getting to know people. So what I did was I said, hey, I want to continue. So once a week, I'm just going to reach out to somebody and have a conversation with them, check in with them, see how they're doing. And so I thought, well, and I had just learned about this brand new thing that called Zoom that I never heard of before. And so I'm like, I'm going to try this out. So I'm like, hey, I'm going to start just checking in with some of my people that I know, see how they're doing. And I'm like, well, as long as I'm doing that, if something good comes out of it, I might as well record it, because if they say something powerful, I want to be able to refer back to that. And then I'm like, well, as long as I'm recording them, I might as well just put them on my website in case someone else enjoys it. And then all of a sudden I'm like, oh my gosh, that's like a podcast. So we might as well just call it that and do it. And that's how it started. And we're about 220, 230 episodes in right now. We're in the top 2.5% of all podcasts in the world, according to listennotes.com. And we just have a different guest each week from around the world, and they get to share their connection between business growth and personal growth. And it's been a great ride. I love learning from people. The messages are very similar, but they're very different. So it's just a great spot to invest 30 or 40 minutes a week on. So I love it. As you do, as being a podcast host yourself, you learn a bunch, right? I mean, it's just a great venue to learn.
Yeah, and that's actually why I started my podcast, because I'd learned so much on my founder's journey from talking to other entrepreneurs and people doing the same thing. And I
Right.
thought putting that out on a platform so everyone else could benefit, same thing would be, would be serving others and helping everyone involved. So that was my motivation as well.
Awesome.
Okay, so we're in 2024, and
Yeah.
what are you most excited about in this next year with what you're working on with your business?
Yeah, I'm about a third of the way through my next book, which is called What Blind Spots. It's a business fable talking about business blind spots. And I think it's really a needed topic that not a lot of people invest time on, because we have this space in our brain that isn't known to us, but yet it's known to other people. And that's the true definition of a blind spot. And generally speaking, we just kind of pretend we don't have them. We don't know what we don't know. We don't worry about it. When somebody else says, hey, do you know you do this? We kind of deflect, or we just don't worry about it. But in today's world, I feel like, professionally, as well as personally, that blind spots are becoming more and more a thing that we have to deal with. And so 2024, we're working on that book. I'm excited to see where it goes. It's a whole different challenge, Dave, because it's a business fable. So I have to build out characters in it. My first book, I just spoke and typed and written and did all that. That was great. Now these, I all of a sudden have fictional characters, but the story is what is the message that's powerful. So I love books from John Gordon, from Patrick Lencioni, and they tend to do these business fables. So I wanted to give it a shot. So I'll let you know how it goes. But right now, it's like, oh my gosh, building out characters is not what I wanted to do, but I have to, and I'm learning to enjoy it. So
Excellent, excellent. Well, that's great to see too, that after such a long journey and all this success over the past decade or so, that you're still finding ways to be creative and innovate, and
yeah,
that add new levels to your business.
absolutely. I don't want to do the same old, and think that it, will always suffice, because again, podcasting hasn't always been around. It used to be blogging. It was articles. I mean, it's always changing on how to get information out. So hopefully I change with it, stay ahead, or at least on the tide, and enjoy the ride.
All right. And if people want to get in touch with you and learn more about your business coaching or anything else that you're doing, what's the best way people can reach out to you?
Yeah, easy. It's davemolenda.com, DAVEMOLENDA.com. And we have the podcast there. Speaking opportunities are there. The book is there. The coaching, everything is there under one spot. So thank you. Thanks for asking.
All right. Yeah, we'll link all that in the show notes for everyone. Okay, well,
Perfect.
Dave,
Thank you.
thank you so much for taking the time to be here. We appreciate that.
Absolutely.
And that's all the time we have for now. We'll see you next time.